Okay. Ingrid seems to have some kind of issue with the
It's working.
Okay. Can you please hear me? Can someone let me know if my voice is audible?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
yes.
good.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, do you hear me? I think that technology isn't so good. Do you hear me or not?
Yes.
Yes, a little bit interrupted, but it's okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah, and the European Wilderness Society for the platform for this presentation. And thank you, Bikash, for the presentation today. And thank you, Bina, for being moderator today. I hope you're all well. And we are very much looking forward to the presentation today.
Okay. Let's get started now. So before we start, I would like to request. All right. I hope I'm audible again. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So I would like to request all the participants to switch your microphones off and also your cameras if you're not speaking. But it's okay if you want to keep your cameras on. I hope it's okay. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box, which I will direct to our presenter at the end. And if you want to talk to the presenter yourself, you can raise your hand at the end and you can just ask a question by yourself. So we would like to welcome you to another session of the Wild presentation series. So we have a lot of presentations going on, and we would like to thank European Wilderness Society for the collaboration and for providing this platform, as Ingrid already mentioned. And big thank you to Max, Jonas, and everyone else. So this presentation series will continue for some more time. And if you want to follow the topics and dates of the other presentations, so you can go to rewild.institute or wilderness.academy, which I will put in the chat box later also. And we would also like to inform you and welcome you to the first International Wilderness Week in mid-October. And it's a worldwide 5 days long conference on wilderness, wildlife, biodiversity, etc. Maybe Max joins later, he'll tell you more about this later after the session. So today we have a session from Bikash Ghimire, who is currently working as conservation officer in Friends of Nature. Friends of Nature is a partner of, very important partner of the Wild Institute. And he has been involved with Friends of Nature in many ways. He has worked as a project officer in the Green School project implemented by Friends of Nature. So it was quite a long project, and also he has been monitoring the vultures in Rampur area, which lies in the Palpa district of Nepal. So if you are ready, I don't see him anywhere. If you're ready, Bikash, I would like to hand it over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bina, for a nice introduction. Firstly, I would like to thank the Wild Institute and European Wilderness Society. Sorry, I got it wrong. Wilderness Society for this platform. I think I'll share my screen now, and something is disabled. I can't share my screen.
It should be fine now. Now you should be.
Okay, I am in. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Welcome once again. In this session, I will talk about vultures, their status in Nepal, conservation efforts, and my research of 2016, which was supported by Ruford Foundation and Idea Wild. I will go through each slides, and at the end, we can have a discussion session for which I request Raju Acharya sir and Yadav Ghimire sir to join me to answer your queries. So I'll start from here. I assume that most of us know vultures at least a little bit, like they are scavengers or they eat animal carcasses mostly for their survival. A particular characteristic of many vultures is a bald head devoid of normal feathers. This helps to keep the head clean while feeding, and researchers has shown that the bare skin may play an important role in thermoregulation. Vultures are found on every continent except Australia and Antarctica, and there are different terms which are used for vultures. You can see them in the screen, like committee, bolt, or venue refers to vultures resting in trees. There are 23 species of vultures worldwide, and they are broadly categorized into two groups: the Old World vulture and the New World vultures. The New World vultures are found in North and South America, whereas Old World vultures are found in Europe, Africa, and Asia. One interesting difference is that the New World vultures they can smell carcasses from quite a distance, while the Old World vultures they find their carcasses by sight. There are 16 species of Old World vultures. We will be dealing with Old World vultures here. We find them in Asia, Africa, and Europe. They are belonging to the family Accipitridae, which also includes eagles, kites, and other birds. There are 9 species of vultures we find in Indian subcontinent, and all of them are recorded in Nepal. All of them have been recorded in Nepal. Uh, and among those 9 species, 6 species are resident species. One is a winter visitor, one passage migrant, and one vagrant species. Three of non-resident species, cinereous vulture, griffon vulture, and Indian vulture, are winter visitor, passage migrant, and vagrant species, as I have said earlier. Among 9, 4 species are categorized as critically endangered. As you can see in this table, uh, the white-rump vulture, slender-bill vulture, red-eye vulture, and Indian vulture. They are critically endangered according to IUCN Red List. Uh, and Egyptian vulture is an endangered species. However, the national conservation status varies a little bit. Uh, Among those 4 critically endangered vulture species, we have 3 species is critically endangered here, and the status of Indian vulture is not specified because it is a vagrant species, and the number we have in Nepal is quite less. As you can see, the estimated population and the present population, this table also helps us to compare between the estimated population in 2016 and the present population here. Uh, the present population of most of the species is lesser in comparison to the estimated population. However, that of this slender-billed vulture is a little more than the estimated one, even though it is still very less. Uh, Population of species like cinereous vulture, griffon vulture, Indian vulture. We have at least documented the numbers now, and this is a good sign in vulture research in Nepal. Monitoring of vultures in Nepal over the period of 1995 to 2009 indicated that there is over 90% of decrease in vulture population. Extensive research undertaken during that period have confirmed that diclofenac, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, NSAID in short, was the main causal factor for vulture population decline in Nepal so drastically is in India and Indian subcontinent altogether. The diclofenac is a veterinary drug which is used to treat cattle for pain and inflammation. Uh, Apart from diclofenac, habitat loss and food scarcity were other major reasons of their decline. Uh, all the accessible forest of Tarai, Churia, and Middle Hills are being handed over to the community forests in Nepal. The community forest operational plans generally prescribe to remove old trees like selection failing. Dying and diseased trees are also failed, thereby opening the area for regeneration. But also cutting of big trees like Bombax Siba before, banning of this green felling in that period also had impact on the habitat of vulture. And on the other hand, practice of rearing improved breed of livestock, and that too in limited number, and those livestock are also buried upon death. These all things, these changes in traditional behavior of people might have led to the scarcity of food for vultures. These were some causes of vulture decline, among others like prosecution, like that. And conservation efforts, if I talk about conservation efforts, right after we knew that diclofenac was the primary cause of drastic population decline, most governments of vulture range countries, along with Nepal, banned the production and use of veterinary diclofenac in 2006. And subsequently, promotion of safe alternative drug called meloxicam was started. Uh, After that, a Vulture restaurant was established. First Vulture restaurant was established in 2007 in Chittor National Park, and now we have a total of 7 Vulture restaurants in Nepal. Uh, After establishing a Vulture restaurant, subsequently Vulture Conservation and Breeding Center was established in 2008. This program is considered very successful globally, thanks to Government of Nepal, Bird Conservation Nepal, and other conservation stakeholders. Uh, After that, Vulture Conservation Action Plan for Nepal was endorsed by the government in 2 phases, 2009 to 13 and 2015 to 2019. It was endorsed, and a lot of researches and conservation works has been carried out in Nepal for the conservation of these critically endangered vultures. There are only 3 districts which are not included in diclofenac free district in Nepal. Apart from those 3 districts, all districts are declared as diclofenac free districts now. Apart from these works, the Bird Conservation Nepal, in collaboration with other conservation stakeholders, community-based organizations, clubs, and so on, they are conducting awareness campaigns for to conserve these species. It's seen on the map of Nepal in the top left. Uh, you can see the whitish patch here. These are the only districts which are not uh, declared as diclofenac-free districts. Those are Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, and Lalitpur districts. The circle down here is a pictorial representation of how diclofenac-free zone look like. in terms of area, diclofenac presence, and other activities. You can see the difference here. This inner circle is the core area. It is the safest area of natural habitat, having 50-kilometer radius, and the outer circle uh, is the buffer zone, together making the area more than 30,000 kilometers square. Coming back to my study, a pinkish colored dot in this map, in Nepal's map, is where Rampur Valley of Palpa district lies. It is an important bird area, important bird and biodiversity area, and Palpa district is one of diclofenac-free districts. The Rampur Valley has a subtropical monsoonal climate. We have a riverine ecosystem here, along with tree species like bombax, acacia, dalbergia, eagle, adena species like that, and animal species like common leopard, jungle cat, barking deer, porcupine, rhesus macaque are present. And this valley has the highest density of breeding white-rumped vulture population in the country. This image, this photo right down here is the extensive study area. So these are the methods that have been carried out during this project. The study area was visited twice, uh, east to west of political boundary of Rampur municipality, following the river belts. We had several informal group discussions with local people and uh, about the historical nesting places and existing nesting and roosting sites. After the nesting and roosting sites were found, nest counting was carried out. Uh, Nest characteristics and nest site selection were assessed, followed by population count, then nesting habitat analysis, and questionnaire survey. Based on local information and existing knowledge, careful observations of potential vulture nesting habitat were made. Nesting vultures were thoroughly searched uh, by scanning cliffs and trees. Nest observations were made from the ground with the help of sporting scope and binoculars, and sufficient distance between the study team and nesting spot was maintained so as not to disturb vultures so much. Uh, Data regarding the nesting characteristics such as the geographical coordinate, location of nest, approximate height of nest, location of nest in the canopy, direction of nest in the canopy, nesting materials, and shape of nest were observed. And in order to study breeding ecology, nests were counted, and nest occupancy, presence of active and passive nests, number of hatchlings, terrain preferred to build nest, and distance of nesting tree from nearest water body were recorded. Trees were marked with appropriate numbers and symbols for future reference. I pronounced a term there, active and passive nest. An active nest, I'll describe that. An active nest is defined as a nest in which eggs have been laid. Uh, there is a different term called occupied nest also. Occupied nest is the nest in which an egg may not have been laid, but nest building activities have taken place. And we can say that all the active nests are occupied, but not all occupied nests are active. To find breeding success, the number of nests were divided by the active nest, and that were times by it was multiplied by 100, and there is a formula for that. And we also did a population count. uh, is the intensive area was small, absolute count technique was used. All the birds, vultures, let's say, seen on nests and perched on roosts were counted during early morning and late evenings. Uh, we did a transit survey for absolute count. Photographs, binoculars, sporting scopes, these were helpful for identification and finding out the vultures. Jackknife technique was followed for population estimation. This method requires at least 5 repeated absolute counts. The method uses the difference between the highest count. This n max is the highest count, and this is the second highest count. Uh, and we can estimate the population with the help of this formula. There is an assumption for this method, that is with repeated counts, theoretically there is the probability of counting all the birds in the area at one time, not immigration or immigration from the area is assumed. So after assuming that no birds are coming in and out, going out at the time of study, we can assume the population, estimate the population. We also did vegetation survey. As you can see in this picture, the intensive study area was quite smaller, and nests were present in this forest. This is a community forest called Khaireni Community Forest, and in 2016, in whole Rampur Valley, only Khaireni Community Forest was the one where vulture nests were present. So we wanted to see why vultures, uh, why only here, or why did they prefer this place for nesting. So vegetation analysis was undertaken. Uh, for vegetation survey, for trees, 15-meter radius plots were used, and for shrubs, 5 by 5-meter plots were used. Uh, Diameter of trees with the help of measuring tape were taken, and for shrubs we used digital caliper. Species area curve was prepared to find out the minimum number of circular plots needed to survey the area adequately. Uh, Once the number and size of quadrants were fixed, the plots were randomly distributed in the forest. In each plots, the number of species corresponding to the number of individuals and diameter of each individual trees exceeding 10 centimeter diameter at breast height was measured, and we did qualitative analysis with the help of quantitative analysis with the help of important value index. Uh, then we also wanted to know the people's perception in the study area. So we did household survey in the study area. 10% household of a vulture nesting site of people residing nearby vulture nesting and roosting sites were taken, and people were asked about different kind of structural and non-structural questions. This is a result part after a successful primary preliminary survey conducted in the nesting and roosting sites. We have found that the nesting sites present before in this study area were not present. I mean, what I mean to say is historical nesting sites were deserted. Only this area was used for nesting and roosting sites. We could estimate 87 individuals as their population of and there were five species of vultures we found that time. These are the species we found there. The proportion of population is given here: adult 18%, adult sub-adult 74%, and fledgling 8%. In that period, in 2016, in Rampur Valley, whole Rampur Valley, 7 white-rumped vultures were found dead, and we could not find the reasons why they died, but these 7 are from this information we collected from locals mostly. In that time, we found 21 white-rumped vulture nests. Among them, 17 nests were active, and among 17 active nests, 16 chicks were successfully fledged, and there was one chick mortality. So breeding success for 2016 in Rampur Valley accounts 94%, and nesting trees were Bombax Siva and Tunasleta for that year. And there are, you can see the pictures of different species of vultures we recorded, and you can see their population in terms of proportion. The white-rumped vulture is found in high numbers here. A total of 17 active nests were present here, and mostly the nests were at the center of the canopy. Vultures, vultures, especially white-rumped vultures, generally preferred flat plains for the trees which were in flat plains for nest building and nesting. And most of the nests were between 101 to 300 meters from the nearest water body. A total of 17 different species of trees and shrubs, 10 trees and 7 shrubs were identified in the study site. Maximum 12 species were present in 3 plots. The data from the field after enumeration was managed to the table, and IVI was calculated to find out the dominance of individual species to understand why the area is being mostly preferred for nesting and roosting. And in tree category, we found Bombax Siva to have the highest IVI value. That means Bombax Siva trees dominate the landscape, in that particular landscape. And in shrubs, we have a clerodendron species. During the questionnaire survey, the reasons given for vulture decrease in livestock holding are like modern agriculture technologies, because traditional ox farming is now rare in Nepal, in most of the parts, at least here in Rampur. And modern livestock farms are also increasingly used for dairy products. And change in occupation, mostly before people were doing agriculture, now they are involved in many other jobs. So they that is also one reason for decrease in livestock holdings, meaning the number of livestock reared in each household has decreased. Even though 97% of people said that they rear livestock or they do livestock practices, there is a decrease in livestock number of livestock holdings. Uh, Most of the people, like almost 90% of them, said that they have witnessed uh, a decreasing trend in vulture population. And during the questionnaire survey, the reasons given for vulture population decline were food scarcity, uh, habitat loss, electrocution, use of pesticides and other medicines. And when asked what can be done for vulture conservation, they said we have to make them available. We have to make food available for them, and we have to conserve every piece of bombec trees is a habitat conservation. And uh, most people are still most people still feel that vultures are disgusting looking uh, birds. That is why also they don't like them, and they try to chase away the vultures which come nearby their residence or say village. We also consulted two veterinary doctors in Rampur, and this green, you can see this green part for fever. Uh, they now use meloxicam, medicine which contains meloxicam, meaning it is a safer. Uh, it is a safe alternative drug for vultures. When we asked about does your livestock die, do they have natural death, they say yes. And the carcass disposal method is like 50-50. Some people they bury them and some people they throw away in the open. From this study, it can be inferred that though the total population looks like fairly stable, the population of the vultures in Rampur Valley is in a declining trend. Uh, Encouragingly, the nests were in good numbers and are in well protected areas. Entire active nests were observed with uh, chicks, and except one mortality, all others fledged successfully. Mostly bombax trees are preferred for nesting. However, other species like Elostonia scolaris, Tuna ciliata, are also preferred in the study area. And there should be collaborative conservation approaches. The local government should also come to play for conservation, not only for vultures, for conservation of uh, nature as a whole. We need to cover more geographical areas, and more researches need to be done here. And provisioning of safe food or last remaining carcasses. We have to talk with villagers, the local people, to stop burying the animal carcasses and throw them in the uh, open area if they are safe from diclofenac. So this study recommends that it is important to find out pockets of vulture habitat. For that, regular monitoring of their population and nests over larger landscapes will help to find the small populations, and then we can initiate other conservation works there. Awareness campaign in and around nesting and roosting colonies for a wide range of audience, starting from school children to local people, should be carried out so that there will be participatory conservation, and it will also help to develop positive relations between the local people and vultures. Uh, Even though diclofenac is banned, some traces of drug can still be found in some parts of the country. So, keeping that in mind, it is important to strictly monitor the use of diclofenac and other harmful chemicals, not only for vultures, but for other species of birds and animals. Participation of local government is a must for a successful conservation practices. So sharing of information with local governing body is very important for sustainable development as well as conservation. And if we can manage safe and diclofenac free food near to nesting and roosting colonies, it will help for them to thrive in nature. This study would not have been possible without the funding from Ruford Foundation and Idea Wild. I highly acknowledge their support. I would like to acknowledge Friends of Nature, European Wilderness Society, Rewild Institute, Forest Research Institute, and the locals of Rampur, including Khorin Community Forest User Groups. That's all from me. Thank you. Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we can go for a discussion session if we have any questions regarding my study or vulture conservation in Nepal. Uh, we can discuss about that. And for this session, I would like to welcome Raju Acharya sir and Yadav Ghimire sir as well.
Okay, thank you. Their hands so that you can directly communicate with our presentator. So there's the first question from Raju Acharya. Are you planning to monitor the nest again?
Thank you. This is an important question. To monitor vulture population and vulture nests in the valley with my capacity, whatever I have. I have not found any other funding sources yet, so that I have been planning for monitoring, but then it is little less likely. Is there are many other uh, things like funding and like that, uh, which are not available, so it is difficult, but yes, I will try, and I will try harder for that to happen. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. There's another question from Chiranjeevi Khanal. What can be done to protect nesting sites in various parts of Nepal? What can be done?
Thank you, Chiranjeevi. First of all, we need to know where the nests are. So for that, we have to do a lot of research. And to protect them, it is necessary that local peoples are also aware about that, aware about the importance of vultures, aware about the importance of vultures, aware about that they have their role in the conservation, so that we can achieve the participatory conservation approaches in nesting sites or in roosting sites. Do anybody answer? Uh, I actually don't know the exact conservation in nesting sites. Or does anybody want to add? There is a question from Suman Sapkota. I really don't know the exact role of study. Will bring out that in Rampur, the vultures they prefer certain kind of compare this to other studies. Thank you, Sanjeev. This is an important question. I think it was not nesting failure. The uh, vulture chick, it died after let's say just before the fledging state. It come out of the nest and it died subsequently. We couldn't do anything about it. Uh, it was already dead when we see it. So it was not a failure, but the chick was there, but then it died.
Okay, so now there's another question from Suman Sapkota. Is there any role of landscape or terrain which affects the presence of vultures?
Oh, Bina, I have just answered that question. Uh, I think we need to go to the next one.
So, what do you think would be a reason for nesting failure in one of the 17 nests in your study area?
Is this the question from Sanjeev? I think
Yes.
I have answered that.
All right. There's another question from Lava. Despite of many efforts in past 5 to 10 years, the population is not hiking. Yeah, the habitat loss is important issue, but do you want to say something on decline of cloth size because of lack of food, climate impact, or maybe because of any kind of medicines used?
The main concern I should say is habitat loss and food scarcity. Since there is no diclofenac traces present, still the vulture population is not increasing in many parts, and that could be because of food scarcity. At least we can say that from our experiences from Rampur or in my study area. Maybe because of small class size and lack of food. I am not particularly sure about the climate impact. I think we have to learn more about that. And yes, medicines are now we have a safer alternative drug named meloxicam, which are being used in Nepal and maybe most of the other countries. That might not be the problem, but food and cloth size could be the problematic factors in the long run. There is another question uh, by Yadav Ghimire. How to convince local people to conserve vultures is these birds are not seen in good light in some cultures. Yes, it's true that even now most people think that if the vultures they accidentally perch in our house, let's say, and we have to do all we have to perform a lot of rituals for that to clean the house from maybe evil spirits or like that. So it is, yes, it is very difficult to convince local people, but we can, all we can do is to try, and we have to uh, go to the community. We have to discuss with them. We have to discuss about the roles of vultures in our environment, the status, how vultures were in before, and what happened to their population, and what would happen if we don't put some actions into it, and maybe convincing students and teachers who would subsequently in transfer work as a messenger in the community would help a little bit to for vulture conservation. I think that's all.
Hello, Bikash, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Bikash. Here is Ingrid from Rewile Institute. The internet is not good here. I hope you can all hear us. Thank you so much, Bikash, for the presentation, and to all of you from Friends of Nature, Nepal, for the collaboration and for all your awesome presentations. Thank you so much for it all and for your contribution to conservation in Nepal and internationally. It's so good to collaborate with you. So thank you for today's presentation. And it's one thought for the vultures, because there are so many challenges around the world and in so many countries for the protection of the vultures. And we had some discussions the last years, for example, in South Africa and also in Europe, in Spain and in Greece and other countries, about the poisonings. And I had a talk also with Andre Botha from the Raptor Research Foundation. And I think there are some programs going on. And the question is, are you in contact with Andre Botha and the Raptor Research Foundation? Maybe there can be an international program also in Nepal for awareness for the vultures and to find an effective solution for the protection of the vultures. So that was my question, and if not, then we can maybe connect and I'll start a discussion in the program for the vultures also in Nepal.
I got a gist of what you said. The internet sounds a little poor. Uh, I haven't been in contact with them. If it would be really nice if you can connect us so that we can talk further about the conservation of vultures and other species.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bikash. I will connect you, and then we find the best solution and an effective way that we can collaborate internationally.
Yes, yes.
And build a strong network and to really strengthen the protection of the vultures also in Nepal. And so let's stick together and find a really effective solution and So yeah, that we help together to protect the vultures. And I'm looking forward to find a way and to start the program.
Yeah, sure.
Together. Thank you so much, Bikash.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello. I'm Jonas from the European Wilderness Society. I would also like to thank you again in the name of the European Wilderness Society for this interesting presentation and the questions afterwards. And I would like to invite everybody who's here to our International Wilderness Week, which will happen from the 19th to the 23rd of October. And there we will hear a lot more like this about different research projects all around the world on wildlife and wilderness. Yeah, so I hope to see as many of you as possible there.
That would be really great. Thank you for the invitation, sir.